MidJourney 4 Alpha came out the other day. Yeah, it's going to make your AI comic creation life, your AI kids book art, whatever AI art project you're working on. Yeah, your life's about to get a little bit easier. I'm going to go over all the new features and show you why they're going to speed up your AI art workflow. And then I'm going to show you the exact prompt that I use to make these robots right here using MidJourney 4. And then I got a little bit of bad news. But for some more good news first. We're going to do the hot dog corn dog test at the end. As you all know, State Fair Foods, specifically corn dogs, the true test of all artificial intelligence. We're going to see how MidJourney 4 Alpha stacks up. And some bad news. One of the new features with MidJourney 4 is what I'm going to call multi-character, and I ran some multi-character tests. One of them involves clowns. Welcome to Camp Peculiar. My name is Aaron. This is a channel for visual storytelling using AI art. Let's look at MidJourney Alpha 4. First thing, let's head over to the Discord MidJourney thing here. You can see the update from David there, talking about what's new, what's going on with everything. I'll just say there's some things that don't quite work yet. You can't remix with version 4 alpha. You can't do aspect ratios. There's like a bunch of stuff that you would want to do that you can't do yet. And so it's fun to play around with. I'm going to make comics using it because it's amazing. Number one is a vast knowledge of people, places, and things. Nouns. There's a lot of technology going on with nouns now in MidJourney 4. Here's an example I ran. There can be a lot of theme park and state fair stuff going on today. It's not state fair season, but we're doing it anyways. So here's a prompt I ran, theme park map aerial view, and had no problem coming up with a bunch of different theme park maps, which is pretty impressive. This would have been difficult in MidJourney 3 or 2. So there you go. There's 3 monsters sitting around a campfire. All looks pretty good to the time of day, the art style, everything looks amazing. These are right, obviously off the grid, no upsampling or remastering on these. The actual prompt for this was, I think, 3 monsters sitting around 3 campfires. And I think if you look in this left image here, you can actually see there are campfires in there. There's like one main campfire, but then there's hints in the images of other campfires, even though it didn't come out exactly how I wanted. Number 2, we're looking at much better at getting small details right. And I'm going to tell you, I put it through the test. I gave it things I didn't think it would be able to do at all. And I have a little before and after comparison as well. So check this out. I did elf ranger wearing a crown, quiver on the back, and then small scar on his cheek. That's a lot of detail. That would have been difficult for MidJourney to do in previous versions. And not perfect, but like lots of things to notice here. All of them, most of them do have a scar, some sort of indication of a mark on the cheek. Most of them are wearing something that looks like a quiver on the back and something that, who's to say what an elf crown looks like? I think MidJourney is. And they say that it's a leaf tucked behind the ear, as noted here and here, which has been my experience. And when I've been in elven villages, really big on leaf tucking. Another quick test here done in comic book, cartoon, anime style. I ran comic book store outside looking through the window of a comic book store. Those details should have been very hard for MidJourney to get, especially the looking through the window of a comic book store. And 2 things just notice here. One, it was able to handle it there on the left image and the right one. And then on the right there, noticing this sort of just elevated shot looking down into what is supposed to be a comic book store. Keeping in the comic book theme, because we all like hanging out in comic book shops, I would imagine. We'll go down to number 3 here. Handles more complex prompting with multiple levels of detail. And then, so we're going to move from outside the comic book store to inside the comic book store, where this prompt was, I think, inside a comic book store during the holidays for winter, something like that. Looks great. Put us inside, definitely a comic book store. On the right here, we got the ornaments hanging at a height where a child could not jump up, grab them, pull down these ceiling tiles, revealing, no doubt, Bruce Willis in a air conditioning duct, just trying to enjoy a Christmas party. And then we'll switch it up and look at this one over here on the left. Definitely a comic book store. A little too much decorating, honestly, for my taste. It's the double wreath. It's really, there's one here and then there's one split in half here, which I'm like, just order the right size wreath in the future, guys. That way we don't have to cut the wreath in half. The garland and the tree, it's quite a lot. But then I noticed that there's a snowstorm outside and that the people inside of this comic book store they're trapped. They're snowed in inside of a comic book store, no doubt joined by Chevy Chase, who's helping them reminisce about old Christmas memories with way too many decorations. So fair warning, we're at number 4, which means some clowns are coming up. You're only getting one more warning. Number 4, better with multi-object, multi-character. So here we go. We got some superheroes, or what MidJourney thinks superheroes are. This was a male and female superhero standing next to each other. No problem getting multiple poses of those. And then I went with 3 superheroes flying past buildings in a city, which is a ridiculously hard prompt for AI. And I got to tell you, this was the 4th or 5th version of that I tried. Kept getting a lot of superhero planes, not a lot of superhero people. So I think I changed it to people flying through the air dressed as superheroes, which is a good trick for AI prompts. So the superheroes are looking good. Of course, I wanted to run one more test just to see if it could do 3 space clowns getting ready to rob a bank. Not for serious. That's very serious. Not something we want to joke around about. This is just for fun. This is just as like a goofsies, right? So we ran that prompt, and this is what MidJourney came up with. It is terrifying. I think we should go full screen with it. It's because, yeah. So we're moving right along here with MidJourney Alpha for supporting advanced functionality like image prompts and multi-prompts. I don't know what it means when it says support like functionality like image prompting, because I think we all thought that's what we had before. I did a video on image weights and image prompts, and I've been a long believer somewhere in my heart that I don't like to talk about, that the image stuff was just not super helpful in MidJourney. Like, I was willing to say like it just doesn't work at all, but I know that it was doing something, and I got yelled at a lot for that personal beef, so I kept it to myself. But now I can tell you this: I was very excited to test this out. Let's take a look at where we're at. So of course I tested this with Disneyland, because I test everything with Disneyland, and just gave it Disneyland Matterhorn as sort of a base test to kind of see what we got back. So here's the image that I gave as just a URL to MidJourney, kept the prompt just the same, Matterhorn at Disneyland. And I just wanted to see how much this image actually influences the composition and the objects in the scene versus it just taking like color information or like, oh, look, a weather vane pole thing. And so this must be about birds or doing something like that. And so this is what we got back. You can see huge leaps forward for actually processing image prompts as images that are sort of composed things and not just a bunch of colors or information in an image. But it definitely shows a huge step forward in how images are interpreted and then used by MidJourney. So let's move on to number 6, supports chaos arguments 0 to 100. This actually works, and it works really well. And let me show you an example of how it works. So this is how chaos works, or here's an example of how chaos works in MidJourney 4. So I used the same prompt for both of these, which was like anime, kid, thief, something like that. The only thing I changed was the chaos value. On the left, those set of 4 images, that chaos value is set to 100, and you can see it doesn't give you chaotic results. It's not like mixing in fractals and all sorts of weird things there. It's just that the 4 images that were returned in your grid are all very different. They all don't look like each other. And then I set the chaos to 100, and you can look at those images on the right, those 4. They're all very different images, but they're all in sort of the same framing, the same pose, the same kind of look. So chaos 0, more consistently similar results, but different. And then chaos 100, very consistent results, but very, very different types of interpretations of those results. So those are all the stated what's new with MidJourney's 4 base model stuff, but I wanted to look at some more comic specific stuff. So let's take a look at some of those things. One of the things that MidJourney had a trouble with that I did on an animated comic, the first one for this channel, had a dragon, and getting a dragon flying was very difficult. I think I ended up using like a bat wing prompt, not Batman's bat wing, if that's a thing, but like, you know, like the wings of a bat, and I had to mix that with a dragon, I believe. So let's see how things are looking now. This is an upsample. The upsampler in MidJourney 4 is not working well. It'll be working better, I imagine, in just a few days. But you can see I did fire-breathing red dragon, and I got all the parts right, even though the anatomy is a little wonky here. It has fire coming out of the mouth and a bunch of smoke. It's equal parts. It's 50-50 smoke to fire, which is what you want at a rock concert and also with your dragon. The next thing I wanted to look at was environment and some more comic rendering of cityscapes and things like that. As I'd mentioned, I think in a previous video, looking down at the rooftops of New York City or some kind of city and getting the air conditioning in vents is something that was kind of difficult to get that perspective. On the left, you can see we have like a sci-fi city thing, which looks great. And then I found it really, really easy to get aerial vantage points of pretty much any environment you want. If I were filling this scene out, I would put the characters either on this upper left-hand building, this lower right-hand corner, or this back one here, where there was nice areas for them to kind of stand out as just little silhouettes. Probably handle that in a different prompt. And then they could be talking about something that's going on in the alleyway or some sort of like secret meeting place or something like that. Anyways, really opens up storytelling in terms of being able to get a wider perspective or a wider angle of environments and give your reader the context of where we're at, what it looks like, what time of day it is, what season it is, and before you pull into a portrait shot. All right, next specific AI comic thing I wanted to look at was hands. Hands have typically been difficult for MidJourney. Doing close-ups of hands, forget about it. And you can see in the upper left, this is a MidJourney 4 Alpha image, but it still has what you would come to expect. It's better, but it still has some I'll call some fingerly wiggly, some globbity glook. It's got what I call some digitally wigglies. That's what it is. It's called digitally wigglies, and there's a lot of it going on right here. The other ones are better, and then I did this test holding a camera. This is great with the sort of manual focus holding these fingers, leave a little bit. These ones look great position wise, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but none of them are a thumb. So still some oddities there, but definitely coming along. You'll be elated to know that in MJ4 Alpha, you can just type in side profile and get a side profile. So the sitting at a desk looking up against a wall, fun video. I like the concept. I like the idea of the video, but becoming obsolete pretty quickly as looking away, looking to the side, those types of things work just fine. What remains to be seen, because you can't use the remix feature in this, is if I can take a prompt with a side profile and then remix and take the side profile and do a straight on or a forward facing profile or something like that and get the same character but looking at it. Of course, the dream is to be able to go, 3/4 turn, quarter turn, side profile, head on and be able to get a full character turn sheet out of MidJourney. We took a step closer. We're not there. I am happy to report that hot dogs are now working really well, especially if you like yours just plain with a little bit of mustard on top of it. If you like your hot dog with cheese-shaped ketchup on it and then lettuce below the hot dog and then just the mustard on top of that, then, it's okay. It's going okay. The big test for AI is not in rooftops or superheroes or characters or side views. It's corn dogs. It's the most important thing that you can do in AI art, and really with most things in life involve corn dogs and been difficult for AI. So let's see where we're at now. I'm sorry to report, these images look great on the right, the foreground on the right, but literally have a corn cob dog with a jalapeno wizard cane, which I love, just not something I want to eat. And then you got these two this robot and this mech here, which was a combat mech, samurai style, Marvel comic style, comic book illustration art, cell shading, ink and color comic art. That was the full prompt that got those two guys to come up. And I like them. They look good. They look more fun than dangerous. And if you are searching this holiday season for a home combat mech, that's one of the features you'd want to look for is more fun than dangerous. Comes with a deep fryer, understands the difference between a corn dog and a corn dog. Thanks for watching. If you like this sort of thing, do me a favor, like and subscribe to the channel and say hi in the comments below. Let me know what project you're working on. And I'll see you next time at Camp Peculiar.